Appointing elders/shepherds. If the congregation does not have elders, the de facto leaders or the preacher will ask the congregation to suggest men they consider qualified to be their elders. The men who desire to assume this spiritual work are presented to the church as a whole for their approval. For churches with elders, the following are known methods used by various churches. There may be other methods not identified. 1. The current elders choose a man or men and ask the church for their approval. 2. The elders notify the church that any man who desires to be an elder and considers himself qualified should let the congregation know. If the congregation agrees he is qualified, he becomes an elder. 3. The church is requested to submit names of men to be elders. These men are contacted to see if they desire to perform the work of an elder. If they are considered qualified, they become elders. 4. The elders request the congregation to submit the names of men they consider qualified to serve. The elders then select men from this list and ask the congregation to approve or give members 2 weeks to resolve any qualifications issues among those being considered. 5. A brother desiring to serve as an elder asks the current elders if he can become an elder. They agree and he becomes an elder, or they agree and seek the approval of the church. 6. The elders select non-shepherd men to be facilitators for the selection process and identify them to the congregation. Members are requested to submit names of men they consider qualified to be elders to a facilitator. The facilitators will meet with each man to determine if he considers himself biblically qualified and if he desires to do the work of an elder. If they desire, they are given a copy of the role of a shepherd to study. Some churches consider a sermon on shepherds and their work sufficient. If after a week's study, those men who agree with the work identified in the role of a shepherd, the facilitators will present them to the congregation and seek their approval. Members will have 2 weeks to resolve any qualifications issues. Members having issues should go to the person being considered to resolve issues. If issues are not resolved, they are to contact the facilitator for assistance. Men having no unresolved issues will be appointed as elders. The above are a few examples of methods used in selecting elders. The compiler's preferred method is one that involves the entire congregation without the involvement of the current elders. One similar to method 6. The role of a shepherd. He gave some as apostles, and Greek day meaning to separate, and some as prophets, and day, some as evangelists, proclaimers of the gospel, and day, some as shepherds, and Greek kai meaning to connect together, so a better translation would have been teaching shepherds. For the purpose of perfecting of the saints, for a work of ministration, for a building up of the body of the Christ, till we may all come to the unity of the faith and of the recognition of the Son of God, to a perfect man, to a measure of stature of the fullness of the Christ, that we may no more be babes, tossed and borne about by every wind of the teaching, in the sleight of men, in craftiness, unto the artifice of leading astray, and, being true in love, we may increase to him, in all things, who is the head, the Christ, from whom the whole body, being fitly joined together and united, through the supply of every joint, according to the working in the measure of each single part, the increase of the body doth make for the building up of itself in love. Ephesians 4 verses 11 to 16. At the time Paul wrote to the Ephesians, they probably understood that the work of the apostles was to be eyewitnesses of Christ while he was in earth, the work of prophets was to proclaim the message they received from God, and the work of evangelists was to proclaim the good news of forgiveness through Christ's atoning sacrifice. The teaching function of the shepherds is explained in verses 11 to 16. To equip the saints for the work of ministry, for building up the body of Christ, until we all attain to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to mature manhood, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, so that we may no longer be children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the cunning of men, by their craftiness and deceitful wiles. Rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into him who is the head, into Christ, from whom the whole body, joined and knit together by every joint with which it is supplied, when each part is working properly, makes bodily growth and upbuilds itself in love. Ephesians 4 verses 11 to 16. A summary of the work of shepherds. A. Teach, feed, equip, and bring to maturity. B. Exhort, admonish, edify, and strengthen. C. Promote unity and harmony. D. Comfort the physically but primarily spiritually weak and sick. E. Seek and restore those who have drifted or are drifting away. F. Pray for self, brethren under their care, and those not in Christ. G. Warn the brethren of dangers lurking in the pathway of life. H. Prepare God's saints for work of service, show and tell. I. Convict false teachers and their false teachings, such as 1. One who denies Christ is God in a human body. 2. One is saved without being cleansed by Christ's blood. 3. Salvation is earned by what a person accomplishes. 1 Timothy 3 verses 2 to 7, Titus 1 verses 6 to 11, 1 Peter 5 verses 2 to 4, Acts 20:28-30, Ephesians 4 verses 11 to 15, Ezekiel 34 verses 2 to 5, 1 Thessalonians 5 verses 12 to 14, James 5 verse 14 and Luke 15 verse 3. Paul wrote in 1 Tim 3:1-7 and Titus 1 that for men to perform the shepherding function they needed to have certain characteristics. Here is a trustworthy saying: if anyone sets his heart on being an overseer, he desires a noble task. Now the overseer must be above reproach, the husband of but one wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not given to drunkenness, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. He must manage his own family well and see that his children obey him with proper respect. If anyone does not know how to manage his own family, how can he take care of God's church? He must not be a recent convert, or he may become conceited and fall under the same judgment as the devil. He must also have a good reputation with outsiders so that he will not fall into disgrace and into the devil's trap. Some early translations have office of a bishop rather than being an overseer. Note that some Bibles have mistranslated the Greek word episkopes as office of bishop, a title for various government officials and used as positions in the Catholic and Angelicen organizations, etiumonline.com. The word office is not in the Greek text. The word episkopes means watchman, sentinel, guardian, or overseer. In biblical Greek, episkopes is the act by which God looks into and searches out the ways, deeds, and character of men, in order to adjudge their lot accordingly, whether joyous or sad, inspection, investigation, visitation when he shall search the souls of men, i.e., in the time of divine judgment. From Thayer's, a noble task. A task is a work or function, not an office. It is from the Greek word ergo, meaning an act, deed, or a thing done. If what is commonly referred to as qualifications were viewed as character traits or tools to accomplish the work of instructing, training, and guarding, then they take on a different meaning. 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1. Author's understanding. Hold firmly to the message of Christ. Be faithful to CHR to know Christ and his apostles' teachings. Above reproach, not open to censure. Good reputation, blameless good reputation with outsiders. The husband of one wife, not a polygamist, not still married to his wife, not given a certificate of divorcement. Temperate, sober-minded, uses good judgment. Self-controlled, disciplined, not a loose cannon. Respectable, orderly, good behavior. Hospitable, takes care of the needs of others. Able to teach, powerful in communicating. Not given to drunkenness, not drink excessively, no brawler. Not a striker, violent, not combative or quick-tempered. Gentle, kind, and considerate of others. Not quarrelsome, not contentious. My understanding is from the Bible, meaning yours is not. Not greedy, does not put material things first. Manage his own family lives within income, not a spendthrift. Not be a recent convert, needs to face trials as Christian. The shepherding work is identified by three Greek words. Elders, GK. Presbyteros, an adjective to denote seniority, older man. Overseer/watchman/guardian/sentinel, Greek episkopes, one who alerts others of pending danger, watches over, guards, inspects, takes care of their needs, and teaches. Thayer. Shepherds, Greek poimon, a provider of nourishment and protector against dangers. Since elders are to be mature men, have knowledge of God's will for his church, and are willing to put the welfare of his people before his own welfare, it should be evident that it is a work of love, not an office to be filled or a position of prestige. Biblical elder/shepherd/overseer/watchman/guardian need to have a close relationship with God and Christians in his congregation. A good knowledge and understanding of the teachings of Christ and his apostles to prepare Christians for their ministry of serving God by doing his will and to bring them to maturity into God's nature. The ability to recognize false teachings and provide opportunities for those under their care to learn, recognize, and acquire the ability to refute such teachings. For example, in their time a prevalent teaching was all flesh is evil. Jesus could not have been in an evil human flesh, therefore, he was just a phantom, Gnosticism. D. The knowledge of the difference between an understanding/opinion and a false teaching. E. The ability to lead without forcing their opinions on others. F. A clear understanding of the spiritual tools needed for performing the shepherding functions and proficiency in their use to defend those under his care, to lead fellow Christians to spiritual food, to mature them into the likeness of Christ, and to defend them from spiritual predators. Paul wrote during the persecution of Christians by the Jews in Romans. Therefore, those desiring the work of shepherding were willing to put their lives on the line to protect their fellow brethren. The spiritual well-being of the brethren was more important than his physical body. It was not a position of honor, power, or prestige but a dangerous work that required 1. The desire to protect your brethren even if it costs his life. 2. Able to teach means, to communicate their teaching and concerns effectively, from the Greek word didaktikos meaning skillful in teaching thayer. 3. Patience, not to fly off the handle or to be quick to judge. 4. Compassion, loving and forgiving. 5. Intimate relationship with God's people's pain, sorrows, and struggles. 6. Righteous men, not pretenders. God's warning to Ezekiel applies to the shepherds in his spiritual kingdom. The word of the Lord came to me, Ezekiel, son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel, their leaders, prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says, woe to the shepherds of Israel who only take care of themselves. Should not shepherds take care of the flock? You eat the curds, clothe yourselves with the wool, and slaughter the choice animals, but you do not take care of the flock. You have not. A. Strengthened the weak. B. Healed the sick. C. Bound up the injured. D. Brought back the strays. E. Searched for the lost. Isn't this the work or function New Testament shepherds should be performing?
The International Bible Knowledge Institute is a non-accredited, non-profit institution with the objective to provide Bible lessons to all who seek to learn about God and His will. Thanks for listening to its YouTube Bible lesson. In addition to its YouTube lessons, it maintains websites for the institutes for its Bible studies curriculum of 5 courses. Students can receive from their instructor an IBKI certificate upon completion of each course and a diploma after completing all courses. Lessons are available for studying online, in a classroom, by Zoom, by email, and printed for use by individuals, groups, and churches. If you liked our lessons, please subscribe to our channel.